on lights and snowfall. Another Christmas on the horizon. Let's make this one glow. Snowflakes fall like silver static on a midnight radio wave. City streets are glowing magic, every window shining brave. Oh, they're dancing on my heartbeat, warm lights wrapped around the town. Every step feels cinematic as the scents go rising up and down. And all the colors start to bloom, candy cane clouds in the gloom. I feel the season breaking through, a glow that pulls me back to you. It's that Christmas feeling, shining like an ocean of stars tonight. Hearts are gently healing under all these neon reds and icy lights. Turn it down at holiday, let the memories drift and play. It's that Christmas feeling in an 80s thing.
Hey folks, what's going on? It's me, Andrew Westmoreland, back again with yet another stream. Please forgive me for my voice and any coughing and sneezing you may hear. I am recovering from a cold. We just spent a week in New York City, and that's going to be a whole nother video on explaining my experience there and what happened, and me changing my view of, America's shining city on the hill. So what I want to talk about today is AmFest. Okay. AmFest just happened a few days ago. And, the clips I saw got me all fired up. So we definitely need to talk about that. Let me turn my music off. Okay. Let's see. Everything looks good. Yeah. Unfortunately, that is what happened. I was outside for a long time. In fact, I did the mileage on how much I walked in 6 days. I didn't include the travel days, so it really would have been 8 days in total that I was in New York. Technically Jersey City, but right across the Hudson. So, but yeah, 6 days of walking. We did 39 miles. And when you're a big fat bitch like myself, 39 miles in 6 days is incredibly hard on your body. My feet, my ankles, my legs, my glutes, basically everything waist down was burning and aching, even lower back pain. But it was all worth it. It was all worth it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the experience. I saw a lot of cool things. I went to the One World Trade Center and got amazing views of that. Faced my fear of heights and all that. Did a lot of stuff. Empire State Building. I went to Ellis Island, Statue of Liberty. I had the whole full New York City experience. So definitely enjoyed that. 15 miles a day. Yeah, I can't do that. That's, not yet. But anyway, let's get into why we're all here. Ooh, buddy. Yeah, this was I'm trying to start the stream off a little light and slow because frankly, I want to say really mean and nasty things, but I'm going to try to keep it logical and just explain my position here. So I'm going to play what Vivek Ramaswamy said at AmFest, you know, America Fest, which was hosted by Turning Point USA, and we're going to talk about it.
The woke left. Now let me get to the harder part. There's a different vision of American identity that's emergent in certain corridors of the online right. And it says that your identity as an American is based on your lineage. That how long you have been in the country, your lineage and your genetics tied to the blood and soil of the country determines how American you are. It is the idea of a heritage American that says the truest form of an American is somebody who is a descendant of the American Revolution period or before. And I will tell you, this idea of the heritage American, we ought to have this discussion. It's becoming more popular. I think the idea of a heritage American is about as loony as anything the woke left has actually put up. There is no American who is more American than somebody else. The American quality, it's not like the left, they believe in this non-binary stuff. There's no non-binary American. It is binary. Either you're an American or you're not. And you think about it, I could prove this to you. Thank you. I'll take some applause on that.
I'm going to let him speak before I
If you really
completely
believe in
go
this
off.
idea, think about where it leads you. Leads you to believe that Donald Trump is less of an American than Joe Biden because Donald Trump's mother was an immigrant and his grandfather was an immigrant. That doesn't make any sense. Leads you to believe that somehow Bernie Sanders is more of an American than Senator Bernie Moreno from my home state, an America First patriot, because Bernie Moreno was a naturalized citizen from Colombia. It makes you think that Marco Rubio, our great Secretary of State, is somehow less of an American than Elizabeth Warren because she's a Native American, which we all know, right? Doesn't make any sense. It's loony. It's crazy talk. It makes you believe that somehow I am less of an American than the transgender criminal who assassinated Charlie Kirk. We refuse to accept that. The idea that a heritage American is more American than another American is un-American at its core. And I will fight to the very end for that because that's what it means to be an American. We believe in ideals. That is who we are.
Okay. Okay. You guys ready for this shit? All right. Let me explain something to you. Let me make myself a little bit bigger here because I wanna go off. How do we do this? Okay, that's better. Yeah. Okay. Let me explain something to you. I'm gonna try to be as polite as possible because I really want to go off here. As a heritage American, as a legacy American, and yes, I will explain what that means. As a heritage/legacy American myself, I am sick to fucking death of being lectured by foreigners about what it means to be an American. Go fuck yourself. Like, go fuck yourself. Now, let me tell you who this guy is. Now, I also want to back up for a second and calm down. Besides this immigration issue, I, for the most part, like Vivek. Okay? I, for the most part, like him. All right? However, on this issue, he can go fuck himself. Okay. Now, let me share this screen again. It's actually way harder than it looks.
About criticizing.
You would think it would be way easier than this. Seamless transition here. Not even close, but give me 1 second. And okay, that's on the screen. Quick Google search. Vivek Ramaswamy's parents, who immigrated from India, are permanent residents, green card holders, not U.S. citizens, with the father choosing not to become a citizen which makes him, Ramaswamy, a natural born citizen due to being born in the United States, which contrasts his stance on ending birthright citizenship. So let's break that down, because that's a word salad here. When his parents came to this country, they were not citizens when his mother gave birth to him. He is, by definition, an anchor baby. Vivek Ramaswamy is an anchor baby. Neither of his parents were American citizens when he was born here. I have a problem with that. Now, I understand what the current interpretation of the United States Constitution says, that if you are born here, you are granted citizenship by default. Most rational countries around the world recognize that at least one parent must be a citizen of the home country in which you were born for you to become a citizen. Most sane and rational countries, what they do is, when you are, let's say the parents are traveling, let's say, it doesn't matter who, let's say the parents are American and they go to China and they have a baby in China. The baby is not Chinese. They are American. So for some reason in America, we have decided that these old ways, when we were trying to boost our citizenship numbers up, in the founding era, we are still deciding that any random can come to our country and pop out a baby, and then that somehow they are a citizen, when almost no other country around the world does. I say almost none. Most countries around the world do not allow the concept of birthright citizenship. You have to have at least one parent that is a citizen for you to be considered a citizen. Okay. So also, let's break this down again. I know this is hard to read. And this is a Gemini is not really good for getting this kind of information out, but Vivek was also talking about ending birthright citizenship, but he is a product of that. That's incredibly hypocritical. If that is the case, if he wants to end birthright citizenship, he should renounce his U.S. citizenship and go back to India, in which he should be a rightful citizen because both of his parents are Indian. Okay. Let me put the chat in so y'all can, let's see, I've got myself over here. Hold on one second. Let me move myself over here. There we go. So what I'm trying to explain here is, as a legacy American, as a heritage American, someone who is actually can prove lineage. I was actually here before the founding of this country because I have actual Potawatomi ancestry, and I maintain my tribal membership, federally recognized and all that. But even putting that aside, I have family that is from France, from the Netherlands, from the UK, in the founding era here, revolutionary. For me, let me explain what legacy American and heritage American means to me, because I am not going to go as extreme as, well, you're not a real American if you weren't here during the founding era. To me, that's a little extreme. That's not really fair. I'm gonna meet people about halfway and say, if you are not a fourth generation American, I do not recognize you as a proper American. If you are third generation, you are the grandchild of an immigrant, I will say that I will treat you as fairly as I will treat anyone else. I'm even getting to here's the thing. Do not misconstrue this as you being an immigrant here, I automatically hate you or distrust you or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying at all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, for you to be considered an equal status as me in my country, I think you need to be fourth generation. You need to be the great grandchild of somebody who came here. Okay. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Yes, you notice my beard is a different color. We'll get into that later. So obviously when you're a first generation immigrant, there's this process that you go through. I believe the current, the way this goes in America right now is it's a 7-year process. And you have to do a oath of loyalty and all that stuff. And you do the pledge and all this stuff. And to me, that's great. And I respect that. And I applaud that. And I thank these people for going through this process. But I think we need to change this severely. So, and I will, go back and read some of this chat, but we need to have this conversation because what we did in the past, during the founding of the United States of America was great for the country then. It was brand new. There was virtually no one on this continent. Obviously, there were millions of Native Americans, but they were very, 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 very spread apart. It was not like, there was 300 million people here and we just came in and just slaughtered them all. That's just not what happened. It was mostly empty space. Okay. And through a combination of legal purchases, trades, and conquest, we have this beautiful country that we have today. Okay. And at the time, we needed numbers. We needed people. We needed people to make babies. We needed people to come over here and establish this country. We're approaching 250 years since then. It is completely different. We have an estimated 340 million people in this continent. We are basically full as far as I'm concerned. Yes, we could probably have more people here, but it needs to be something that we need to be careful about. Okay. We have limited resources, just like any country around the world. We obviously populate around the coast, but in my opinion, I think that we need to have a complete and total moratorium and just completely stop all immigration, like 10 years. To get our bearings and figure out just how bad this fraud was, just how many illegal immigrants are actually here, like do a full, proper, mandatory census. We need to know who's on our country. None of this voluntary, hey, knock on the door. Hey, we're with the census. Can we get some information? And they cuss you out, slam the door. No. It needs to be compulsory. We need to know who is here in our country. Are they here legally? Are they not? If they're not, get them out. It's to me, it's just really simple. Yes, it'll be incredibly costly and it's going to be billions, $100 billion or something like this to do this, but we need a hard reset. Okay. I don't think this is controversial. Most countries around the planet have similar policies already. Okay. You can't just go into someone else's house and then just like secretly live there and expect that there's no consequences. Like it's just absolutely insane that we even have to have this debate and conversation. So, let me go through some of the chat. Based. Let's see. Yeah. His parents are not even naturalized. I think I feel like one of them became a citizen, but I don't know how true. I didn't really look into that. That's super much. It was not about boosting the numbers. I think in the early stages it was, and then now Democrats are using it as a tool, a cudgel, to beat us into submission, because the more people they have in their districts, the more congressional seats they get. It's a total fraud. It doesn't matter if these people are citizens or not, which in no sane reality would that make sense. Why would a non-citizen be counted in the census? So even if you said that this was a legal temporary resident or a permanent resident, that green card holder or whatever, you have a visa to be here, but you're not a citizen, why would even those people be counted in the census? It doesn't make sense. It should be a separate category as a legal immigrant, a lawful immigrant. Vivek is a creature of Peter Thiel. This is the thing. Again, I started to like Vivek in the early days years ago, and the more I'm learning about him and the more I listen to him, he keeps saying stuff that's just like awfully convenient. And then he just absolutely pissed me off with this comment. No, dude, you just got here like 40 years ago. My family has been here for like 5,000 years. So go fuck yourself. You know, just frankly, unapologetically, go fuck yourself. My family goes back before the revolution too. Yeah, man, it's just like, and pretending like that doesn't mean something. He's completely devaluing what it means for us to be an American. Like, we all have our different cultural backgrounds, right? You know, I am mixed race. I have all this different stuff going on, and I can appreciate what, you know, the European side, the Native American side, the West African side. I can appreciate all these different genetic components and the cultural heritage, and I respect that America is a melting pot to a degree. A melting pot does not mean that we have to be a sewer. Okay, we don't need to be collecting all of the third world and say that the people from, you know, I don't even need to list the countries. You already know what I'm talking about. These actual like shithole countries that don't even have like barely functioning governments come here and think that they are equal to me. No, absolutely not. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, on a spiritual level, God says, you know, I identify as a Christian. Teaches that we're all the same under God, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about on a nationalistic level, right? I am a true American by birthright, an actual birthright, blood and soil, all of that. I have a actual tie to this land. If you just got here yesterday, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're not the same. You can call it a second class citizen, whatever. I'm okay with that. Like, that, to me, that's perfectly understandable. Most countries around the world do that. Like I said, if I go to China and say I want to become a citizen, first of all, they're probably going to laugh in my face and say no, it's not going to happen. And I believe there is an ethnic and a racial requirement for that. You have to have a Chinese parent for you to try to get citizenship in China, to my knowledge. So, yeah, I mean, you can't just go to random countries and live there and try to become a citizen. It's typically Western nations that do that. Most other nations are like, no, you're a visitor. You're a foreigner, and you will never, no matter what you do, you're, for the most part, will never be considered an equal to them. All right, let's go back. Cherokee blood in mine, right? Very powerful question. The question is, does citizenship have actual value? It does. It does. Like, having a U.S. passport is extremely powerful and extremely valuable. But Democrats have been completely eroding what it means to become a citizen. They are giving these foreigners, not just foreigners, mind you, illegal immigrants, criminal aliens, illegal aliens, whatever the legal term is. They are giving them our hard-earned tax dollars. They are giving these people our welfare benefits. They are giving them food stamps. They are giving them like actual welfare checks. They are giving them free healthcare. These things that I don't necessarily even agree that we should be doing for our own people, we're giving it to people who don't even belong here. That is incredibly insane. So yes, they are eroding what it means to be a U.S. citizen. And I think we need to fix that. Okay. Being a United States citizen should be one of the highest honors and values on this planet. It really, truly is. It should mean something. And just saying that some random from any country around the world that, again, may not even have a functioning government, that they can come here and then they're somehow equal to me, to us, the people who have blood ties to this continent, going sometimes, if not hundreds of years, thousands of years. Fuck you. Absolutely not. When does somebody become a native? This is a great question. Fantastic question. I've thought about this for a very long time. When does somebody become native after colonization? So like this is just me. It's my arbitrary. I thought about this for a while. I say fourth generation. You know, you're the great grandchild of the immigrant or a colonizer. At a certain point, yes, you're just indigenous to the area. You because if you go back through human history, we've conquered each other, you know, hundreds of times over. You know, borders constantly change. You know, people immigrate and move around. You know, if you look at a map, like the population and ethnics and stuff, people move around. So at a certain point, it's just yours. Okay, it's just going to be yours. Oh my gosh, I have a hair in my eye. Excuse me. It's really annoying. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to come back to chat. I'm going to keep going. So, as somebody who has been here, born and raised, my parents are from here, my grandparents are from here, my great grandparents are from here. And then from there, you start having immigrants coming in from Europe and obviously the slave trade, African slave trade. But then I have that Native American tie. I can even argue, I could probably argue some French Canadian, because that's, you know, my tribal area. It was kind of like on that border. And then we came down Potawatomis and settled in the Great Lakes. I mean, we were a Great Lakes area tribe, so kind of on that border. But anyway, it's just like so frustrating, man. I'm so sick of immigrants trying to tell us what we should and should not think. Okay. Hold on. I want to share my screen with some other posts. I'm just going to go to my Twitter again. Scrolling down, and then I'll share this in just a second. Okay, share screen. All right, here's another post. Mehek, I think that's how you said it, Mehek Coke, or yeah, whatever. I'm an American. I came here legally and assimilated our laws, culture, and shared standards. No one gets to rank my Americanness. The real divide is not heritage. It is legality and assimilation. Totally fucking disagree. And I responded, I said, sorry, but you'll never be one of us. Just like if I went to China, I'll never be one of them. Your grandchildren won't be an American to us either. It's nothing personal. It's just a fact of life. And again, you could pick any country in the world, Zimbabwe. If I try to immigrate to Zimbabwe, I could even marry okay, here's the difference. Oh, wait. Let me explain this too, because I think I'm getting really emotional. I'm jumping around a lot. If me as an American and I come there with an American wife or whatever, and we have kids in Zimbabwe, my kids have kids with more Americans, et cetera, that's what I'm talking about. After 4 generations, my great grandchildren there in that country, then I would say they would become, like, if I say in my American ethnic, there really isn't one of, but you know what I'm saying. Then you can say, okay, by that point, you're that country. You are from that. You're indigenous. Now, where it gets complicated, and I think that we need to have a real conversation with which I think is fair. If I went to Zimbabwe and I married a Zimbabwean, I think that's how you say it, woman, and we had a child, that child is going to be, it's going to have ties to both countries. But let's be real. They were born in Zimbabwe. Their mother is Zimbabwean. That child is Zimbabwe. And then their children's children will all be Zimbabwean if we stayed there, right? I think that's fair. That's different. It's when you try to isolate yourself in these communities, which, how strange, happens all the time. Why do we have these Chinese immigrants coming in and they all clump together and marry Chinese and they just keep having Chinese children? This is why I'm saying 4th generation. Because you are instilling Chinese values and culture and language and religion into your children and grandchildren. By the 4th generation, it's so muddied. They're so they're just naturally going to be assimilated 9 times out of 10, more than that, 99.99% of the time. Great grandchildren are just going to be whatever that country is. Second generation, absolutely not. Third generation is the debate. Some people are saying the grandchildren of immigrants are just going to be whatever country they're living in. I think we need to push it up to great grandchildren. Okay. So, and this is the thing. Like, I don't know who this lady is. I have nothing against them. I'm not, I think that like I said, I completely appreciate that you came here and you went through the process and you love our country so much that you want to become a citizen. But at a certain point, we have to say, look, you're not the same as us. So I want to find my post where I completely broke down what I think should happen here and how this would work. Let's see. I had most of this ready, but I didn't have all of it ready. Give me 1 second. I'm almost there. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, here we go. This is exactly what I was looking for. Okay, so legacy Americans / heritage Americans. I think that fourth generation or greater should be full status citizens, able to vote and hold office by birthright. I think we need to change the laws for real. Okay. Second and third generation should only be able to buy or earn their voting status from military service, but should never be able to hold public office. I think this is a huge conversation that nobody wants to talk about because it's incredibly controversial. I'm sorry, but if you just got here yesterday, actually, it doesn't matter. There is no time limit. If you came here, you're 80 years old now. You came here when you were 18 or whatever. You've been in this country like 60 years. I still don't think you should hold any public office. And honestly, I don't think you should be able to vote. I know that is incredibly controversial for some people, but you can never be one of us. Okay. You just can't. I know it's hard for some people to comprehend. You can never be one of us because you are not us. Now, you can live amongst us. I think that's fair. Some people don't want any immigrants whatsoever. I don't know how that's ever going to work in a country like America, but you can live with us. We can be friends. We can do business with each other. Hopefully we share the same religion or whatever. You can go to the same churches or whatever. That's fine, but you should not be able to vote. I'm sorry. Okay. Not as first generation. You shouldn't be able to vote or hold any office no matter what. There's nothing you can change about that. Second and third generation, I think that if you do military service, you should be able to earn your voting status. So I'm saying, yeah, you should have like second and third status citizens. Okay. I know a lot of people are like, absolutely not. That's not what America's about. But I'm telling you right now, if we don't do something like this, we're not going to have a country in about 50 to 100 years. It's going to be gone. Maybe within our lifetimes. We have this sickness in us. This I used to say like liberalism in general, like the classic liberalism was an okay thing. And now I'm starting to revisit that and say that maybe that was a mistake too, at my own detriment. Okay. I have certain lifestyles and things like that many of you watching will not agree with, but I'm starting to think that a lot of these things were a mistake. So when I look at this, I think that in all actuality, we need to completely reform the immigration system and what it means to be a citizen. Okay. I think you have to earn your status as a birthright citizen by being fourth generation. You have to invest your time, your blood, sweat, and tears, like our ancestors did, the legacy and heritage Americans did. You cannot just come here and just say that you are one of us now. No, you have to earn that with time and dedication and patience. If you can do that, then I think it's fair that your great grandchildren are equal status to us. I think that is entirely reasonable and entirely fair. Okay. This does not mean that you can't have immigrant friends or that they should be treated poorly or anything like that. I reject that. I think that we should love our neighbors as we love ourselves. That does not mean that they get to just come in and take our rights, our status. No, you have to earn that. And we need to get mature about this and stop letting the toxic left dominate the conversation and everything and the culture. Absolutely not. Let's bring it back to reality here. Okay. So what has the left been doing? Well, it became very popular in the last month or two. We're talking about toxic empathy, suicidal empathy, and narcissistic empathy. I don't like that word empathy because the left and modern people use empathy in the incorrect way. The real word should probably, the correct term should probably be sympathy. So toxic sympathy, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like you are, let me start with the easy one. Suicidal sympathy is where you're advocating for policies that on paper sound good, but they're ultimately going to hurt yourself in the end, to your own detriment, up to and including your own people being raped, murdered, conquered. Like literally, that's what suicidal sympathy is. Narcissistic sympathy would be, it's really easy to explain. It is like performative empathy and sympathy. Oh my gosh, these immigrants are coming over on boats because, these are these families that are coming over through the Mediterranean and landing in, Calais, France, and they're landing on these islands in Greece, and they're landing in Italy, and oh my gosh, we need to help these immigrants, these poor families. And they're it's a virtue signal to make yourself look like you actually give a damn about what's actually happening. But of course, every single time we do these street interviews and we ask these people who think that, oh well, I have a we're doing this program trying to house these migrants. I have Miguel and Miguel Gonzalez, and I have his friend Hector. They need a place to stay. Can they stay at your house? Oh, well, no, actually, we can't do that. And it's like, oh. So you don't actually believe that. You're just saying like, let's steal other people's tax money and just like house them somewhere else. Cool. That's narcissistic sympathy and empathy. Okay. And toxic is kind of a combination of the two, where it's just like, you're it's kind of the whole thing is basically performative, right? Some people actually believe these things and other people don't, or they're just ignorant to what the consequences are. This is our major complaint here is we have a high enough IQ where we are trying to have these hard conversations. Okay, that GIF is really distracting me. We're trying to have these real conversations, right? These are hard conversations, they're controversial, but we're all adults here, right? We can sit here and talk about these hard issues and not get, super butthurt about it. Okay, you're going to disagree with me on about a 1,000 other items here, but we probably agree with, 99% of issues, right? And we're going to get really fired up about that one issue that we strongly disagree with each other on, but we mostly agree with everything else. The problem when you're dealing with Democrats and the left, the general left around the world, they have completely devolved from any sense of rhyme and reason. We're in two completely divergent realities at this point. Okay. And it didn't used to be like that. You used to actually be able to have actual real world conversations with them. But now they've gotten so caught up in this like toxic sympathy, narcissistic sympathy. This is that whole wokeness, the mind virus, all these different terms people are using. They are unable to admit and have a real conversation, because it falls apart at any level of scrutiny. Any basic logic or reason, it completely falls apart. These simple conversations and topics like immigration, we've been having this immigration debate since the beginning of America. This is nothing new. Look at the movie Gangs of New York, 1800s. It was 1800s, right? Or was it early 1900s? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. My brain is like completely failing me here. Pretty sure it was Victorian era. Okay, yeah. 1800, mid 19th century, 1840s and 1860s. Okay, so yeah, it was basically, it was during Victorian era. Favorite era of all time for me, by the way. If I was reincarnated, I came from that era. In all seriousness, though. So let me go through some of these chats again. Okay, let's go through a lot of these. Our libertarian governmental ideas don't allow for more people just because we refuse to do public works on a continental scale. Oh, okay, yeah. It's really hard, man. It's really hard to say like what's a good balance, because part of what makes society so civilizations so uniquely popular and powerful enough to stand the test of time, lasting thousands of years, is their ability to unify on the issues that matter. They have a unified religion, a unified culture, a unified language for the most part, and a unified goal is what makes these things so these civilizations, these empires, so successful. And I've noticed, it's pattern recognition. That's the basic IQ test, right? You just look at history and you start to notice these big civilizations, basically every single one of them started collapsing when they started following the leftist playbook, this multiculturalism, unlimited melting pot. It does not work. It can't work. And you could use just a basic human nature if you want to use that. You can also cite the Bible. I'm not a Bible thumper, but I remember reading the Old Testament and, the Tower of Babel story where everyone got, scattered and they all had different languages. And basically you can't, they're not ever going to fully, work together on purpose by commandment of God until that's reversed. So whether you believe that or not, I think that's part of this human condition. We are genetically, if you want to go to science, we're genetically different enough. And there's just too many different variables for us to fully work together in any meaningful way. We are hardwired and hard-coded to have an in-group preference. The Chinese have an in-group preference. The Jews have an in-group preference. The Indians have the in-group preference. Every country and ethnicity around the world does, but for some reason in America or in the West, when white people try to have an in-group preference, it's a problem. I don't get it. It's performative. It's like you're not being realistic at all. Okay. You're not being true. And if everyone else could have it, so can white people. I'm just so over this. Let's just be logical, rational people. Let's see. Can you be a Christian and a nationalist? Christianity is universalist. Yeah, I mean, and that's a great question too. I like you. You have a really good mind here, and you clearly have thought about a lot of things because you're asking the right questions. Yes, I believe you can be a Christian nationalist however, but there's obviously caveats to that. Um, you could be a Christian nationalist, but you also have to leave space for other Christians around the world. So, like I said earlier, the Bible teaches that we're all equal under God, and Jews are the chosen people. And there's a lot of this stuff that we're not going to get into right now, but I do question a lot of things on who wrote what and wrote what for who. We're following like 4,000-year-old commandments by God that aren't necessarily valid anymore, or that they were only for a specific group of people. All these different things are complicated and not necessarily for this conversation. But I do believe you could be a Christian and a nationalist, just like any other group of people around the world can do that as well. Like Muslims are obviously Muslim nationalists for their particular country and region. But specifically Christianity, yes, it is universalist. Anyone can convert to Christianity. That is what Jesus taught and wanted. So I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. Like I think you absolutely could be a Chinese Christian nationalist. It doesn't matter. I think the difference is, like, again, you have your in-group preference. As a Christian American, you're going to want to focus on your people here in America. That doesn't mean that you can't go help people in Africa that are also Christians that are suffering. It's just one of those things, like, you have to help yourself before you help others. Because if you don't, you're just committing suicide. Like, you can't dump all of your resources to solve all the world's problems when you have problems in your own house. I don't think those things are contradict each other. So, like, when I am like completely changing my views, a lot of people, like, if you're just checking in from 10 years ago, totally different from how I am today, it's because I update my views on things as information changes, as the situation changes, as I encourage everyone. If you have maintained the same politics that you did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, however many years ago, however old you are watching this, listening to this, that's a problem. That's a problem. That means you're not evolving. Okay. And some would argue, oh my gosh, well, he's devolved. Oh my gosh, he used to be this enlightened centrist. And then now he's like, oh my gosh, he's like right wing. It's like, well, we could have that debate and we could go through each issue line by line, but you got to evolve, man. All right. Free speech should only apply to U.S. citizens. I 100% agree. I think this is the problem with Americans, is that we have this idea that everyone that comes here should have complete equal rights as us. Totally disagree. I think there should be universal rights that even visitors are given. But think about this for 1 second. Let's use our brains for 1 second here. And I will get into the a couple other AmFest speakers. I have this lined up here, and I'm kind of like rambling on. Hold on, let me check something. I have been talking. Let's see, we're about 50 minutes in. All right, I'm going to give it 10 more minutes on this topic, and then we're going to go to the next one here. It's going to be related. So, okay, so free speech should only apply to U.S. citizens. Can you imagine? Let's just ask for chat here. Chat, what would happen if you go to Russia and you go into St. Petersburg Square, you pull out this flag out of your bag or your coat jacket, let's just say a gay flag, the rainbow flag. Actually, a Christian symbol, mind you, but you know what I mean. Pull out the rainbow flag in St. Petersburg Square in Russia and say equal rights for gay folks. What do you think is going to happen to you? What do you think they're going to do? Same thing in China. You go to Tiananmen Square in China, pull out the gay flag, the rainbow flag, and say gay rights for all Chinese. What do you think is going to happen? What the fuck is this spam? Get fucked. What do you think is going to happen, chat? If you pull out a gay flag in China and start protesting, or in Russia, if you do that in Saudi Arabia, what do you think is going to happen? Please, somebody answer in chat. What do you think happens? You're not a citizen of these nations. What do you think happens? Everyone knows what's going to happen if you go to these foreign countries and that you start protesting in a way that is illegal to them, or is against their best interest, or against their culture, their religion, their policies, whatever. You get arrested and you get deported. There you go. Okay. That is exactly what happens in most of these countries. They're going to beat your ass, and then the police will show up and beat your ass and arrest you, and you're a foreigner. You get deported probably. Okay. Obviously, there is a scale to this. This isn't a monolith. This isn't like a monopolar type of thing. Depending on your status, are you a celebrity? Are you super rich? Are you a politician from another country? Are you, whatever, a diplomat? There's going to be a scale. If you're a regular person and you go to these countries, they're going to beat your ass. You're going to get arrested and deported. That's what's going to happen. Okay. So why, when some foreigner comes into our country and they start doing the free Palestine bullshit and rioting in our streets, or we'll have these illegal immigrants, bold as fuck, mind you, unfurling these Mexican flags and say fuck ICE and riot and destroy cars, and that we're supposed to just ignore that? No, absolutely not. You should not have free speech in America if you're not a citizen. Sorry. That is reserved to actual citizens who have earned it or have it by birthright. Actual birthright. Heritage Americans, legacy Americans. We have the ability here as we can say fuck Trump if we want. We can say fuck Biden, Obama, whatever, the Clintons. You can say whatever you want. But if you come to my country, I don't want to hear anything you have to say about my country. That's just how it is. And that's not controversial. We are children of the internet, a lot of us. So you could be listening from all over the world potentially. And me as an American, I guarantee you, let's say you're listening from Australia or Canada or the UK, because I look at my metrics. That's the 4 main countries actually. The UK, Canada, United States, and Australia. If I talk about your countries and I am not from your country, you don't care what I have to say because it doesn't affect me. And anything I have to say about your country is it's honestly, it's annoying and it's offensive, right? So no, dude, you don't get to come to America and just say whatever you want. That's insane to me. All right, let's wrap this up. I have a couple more. Oh my gosh, Appalachians are amazing. So yeah, I moved. I'm in the northern corner of that. I'm just outside of Pittsburgh. It's like, right on the edge of Appalachian. Some may not actually call it that, but I'm right on the edge, and I love it. I love the people here. Fantastic. Mumdami. Yes. So we've talked about this in previous streams and videos. I know a lot of people find this offensive and they can't really comprehend that I say this, but dude, how are you going to be an immigrant and that you're holding public office? That's insane. You should not be legally allowed to do that. You just can't. It's just, you don't have a country anymore. I mean, this is what happened in Rome. This is what happened in ancient Egypt. This is what happened in so many of these great empires and civilizations around the world, is that they just started letting all these people come in and have equal status, and they don't have the same culture, religion, language even. And then you expect them to share what it means to be of your nation. It's just, you can't, it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. All right. Let's get into the second one. Let's talk about Ben Shapiro at AmericaFest. Oh, this is going to be fun. It's going to be very fun. Okay, which one is sharing screen? Share screen. Oh, buddy. Let's do it.
Coalitions. It's the job of those of us who try to shape public opinion to hold politicians to account and to hold them accountable to our values. We must not let fear of audience deter us from telling the truth. We must not let fear of other hosts deter us from telling the truth. So, for example, if Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk
Oh, Candace Owens.
So, if Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk casting aspersions at TPUSA and the people who work here, who worked with Charlie every single day, his best friends, to cast aspersions at Mikey McCoy and Andrew Colvin and Blake Neff and Tyler Boyer, and yes, at Erica Kirk, and to imply or outright claim complicity in a cover-up over Charlie's murder, to spew absolutely baseless trash implicating everyone from French intelligence to Mossad to members of TPUSA in Charlie's murder or a cover-up in that murder, then we, as people with a microphone, have a moral obligation to call that out by name.
I don't know why the quality of the video is kind of low. It has nothing to do with me. They probably shared it too many times. Yeah, it's at 330p. Oh
never
my
should have been
God.
put in the position to have to defend themselves
Sorry,
against such
folks. Probably could have
specious
picked
and
a better
evil attacks, particularly in a time of mourning.
Okay.
And the people who refuse to condemn Candace's truly vicious attacks, and some of them are speaking here, are guilty of cowardice. Yes, cowardice. The fact that they have said nothing while Candace has been vomiting all sorts of hideous and conspiratorial nonsense into the public square for years is just as cowardly.
Okay. All right, y'all got that? You heard what he said? Let's start from the beginning real quick.
It's the job of those of us who try to shape public opinion to hold politicians to account and to hold them accountable to our values. We must not let fear of audience deter us from telling the truth. We must not let fear of other hosts deter us from telling the truth. So, for example.
Okay, so you got that. He's talking about the truth, and that's like one of his big core things. Okay, the truth. Let's talk about the truth. Ben Shapiro is not America first. He is very obviously and very openly Israel first. Okay, this goes back to the Vivek Ramaswamy vibe. Okay, I have zero problem. I know some people may try to like say otherwise. I have zero problem with Jews. I have zero problems with Indians. I have zero problems with, you know, these other people from all over the world. Here is what I think about this. If you come to my country, sorry, I'm like moving around my mic. If you come over here to my country, born here or not, you have to respect our country and our values. If you do not, you should probably leave. Okay. Right now, we're in a major crisis in America. And when we have people like Ben Shapiro, whose main primary focus is the best interest of Israel, I have a problem with that. Not because he is a Jew or that Israel is a Jewish country. because it is not America. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. It has nothing to do with religion or anything else. It's really quite simply, you are advocating for a foreign country and not my country first. Okay? I don't think that's really controversial. I don't think that's controversial at all. Okay? But to sit here and be lectured by somebody who his entire shtick and spiel is whatever is the best interest of Israel, and then tries to lecture us that we should not, he wants to gatekeep who we should allow in our movement. No, absolutely not. You don't get that right. You are a complete hypocrite. Absolutely. You cannot lecture us about who gets to be in our movement when your primary goal and focus is the best interest of Israel. I'm sorry. I'm not an anti-Israel person. I'm not anti-Semitic. I have no opinion of, well, I have opinions, but I have no like negative feelings against Jews. Okay. I have nothing like that. It's really, really simple. It's really just that simple. You're advocating for a foreign country above America. I'm not interested in that. Okay. Furthermore, I do not have this clip available, so let me see if I can find this. I think this is a very important concept, a very important issue here. I have to find this. Hold on one second. Oh, I must find this. Let me see if I can. This is a 20-minute video. Okay, we're not watching a 20-minute. Oh my gosh. Okay. I could just say it, but it's not going to be the same impact as somebody, actually showing his video. But, he's trying to gatekeep. He was talking about Candace Owens, which you did here. And he doesn't think that, she should be allowed to do that. We also had, there was a clip that I'm trying to find it. He's also talking about Nick Fuentes and, there's a couple of the speakers, including Vivek Ramaswamy, that were bashing Nick Fuentes. Come on, if I can type Nick Fuentes. I really just want the video. Oh, come on. I am no fan of Nick Fuentes, mind you. Not at all. Not a fan at all. But this idea that this man went on stage and said that we shouldn't be platforming Nick Fuentes. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean platforming? Like, what is this? I can't find it. Oh, wait. I think this is it. Okay. All right. Bear with me, folks. I'm sorry. I suck at this. Share screen. Ben Shapiro, Nick Fuentes. All right. Let's do this.
A Hitler apologist, for example, if you host a Hitler apologist, Nazi-loving.
I like how the audios are not even close to the same. All right, here we go.
If you host a Hitler apologist, Nazi-loving, anti-American piece of refuse like Nick Fuentes. You know, the Nick Fuentes who said that the vice president of the United States is a, quote, fat gay race traitor married to a Jeet. The person who said that Charlie Kirk was a, quote, retarded idiot. The person who said, and pardon my language here, it's his quote, that he, quote, took Turning Point USA and fucked it, and that's why it's filled with groypers. If you have that person on your show and you proceed to glaze him, you ought to own it. There is a reason that Charlie Kirk despised Nick Fuentes, and indeed even chided Dinesh D'Souza for debating him. He knew that Nick Fuentes is an evil troll, and that building him up is an act of moral imbecility. And that is precisely what Tucker Carlson did. He built Nick Fuentes up. And he ought to take responsibility for that, just as he ought to take responsibility for glazing pornographer and alleged sex trafficker Andrew Tate, or for mainstreaming fake historian and pseudo-Nazi apologist Daryl Cooper as America's best and most honest popular historian.
Uh-huh. Okay. So, here's the thing about this. I don't have a problem. Like, anyone could say whatever they want, obviously, and you can condemn whoever you want and talk shit about whoever you want. I have no problem with that. I have no interest in you know, Nick Fuentes and his particular brand of movement, but I understand why a lot of young men do. Okay. And then Ben Shapiro pretending like he is in charge of this huge greater movement and who can and can't be involved in it. It just doesn't make any sense, right? And I would argue, if we're going to use that metric on, you know, gatekeeping who can and can't be in the right-wing conservative American movement, I would say Ben needs to go. If out of all of these people, Ben needs to go, because he doesn't even he's not even here for America. He's here for Israel. America second for him, maybe even America last. I'm not sure. Okay, but it's clearly not America first. For me, it's America only. Okay, I can't worry about the world's problems anymore. We have too much going on here, man. Like, having to hear people bitch and complain about who can and can't be allowed to speak, to be platformed. That's leftist speak. That's new speak from the left wing. That's how they talk and have been talking for the last 10, 15 years. Why are you using leftist coded language? Why are you platforming Nick Fuentes? What? What is wrong with you, dude? Like, why would you talk like that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. Not interested. So, of course, Tucker Carlson responded. Let's see. Is this a good video quality? Kind of.
I just got here and I feel like I missed the first part of the program. I hope I didn't miss anything meaningful. But I just want to say, I don't think I did. No, I'm just kidding. I watched it. I laughed. That kind of bitter, sardonic laugh that emerges from you when, like, Upside Down World arrives. When your dog starts doing your taxes and you're like, wait, it's not supposed to work this way. To hear calls for, like, deplatforming and denouncing people at a Charlie Kirk event, I'm like, what? This is hilarious. Yeah, this is hilarious. Actually, one of the clips I was listening to myself, thinking as I often do when I hear myself speak, which is never, because I never watch myself, but at these events, they always play, like, the role of you. And I'm like, that guy is pompous. Woo! Sorry about that. We don't see ourselves clearly. But the prediction that, you know, at some point when Republicans took power again, which I did everything I could, you know, to help, and really felt that was important. I still think, you know, I was right. But I really thought that the impulse to deplatform people, or even to use the word platform as a verb, which it's not, it's a noun, don't steal my nouns, deplatform and denounce. Why haven't you denounced somebody else? The whole, like, Red Guard cultural revolution thing that we so hated and feared on the left, that we did everything we could to usher in a new time where you could have an actual debate. I mean, this kind of was the whole point of Charlie Kirk's public life. And I think that he died for it. I really believe that. And I know a lot about it because the last several months of Charlie's life were devoted in part to arguing about this event, in fact, this speech, in fact, my speech here, which he asked me to do earlier this year, this summer, and was immediately put under just immense pressure from people who give money to Turning Point, I would assume good people, but who wanted him to take me off the roster.
Wait, what people? Who is this nebulous, vague group of people that he's referring to? I'm very curious about this.
And this has all become public, and the whole thing is so sad that I never talk about it, except to say Charlie stood firm in his often stated and deeply held belief that people should be able to debate, and that if you have something valid to say, if you're telling the truth, you ought to be able to explain it calmly and in detail to people who don't agree with you, and that you shouldn't immediately resort to shut up racist. You should.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know the others I was just playing in full, but this is like a 4-minute clip. This is the thing, right? It's ding, ding, ding. You win the award. I'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, man, like obviously it's incredibly ridiculous. Like you go to Charlie Kirk's event, the thing that he built, his legacy, where his entire primary focus was to debate people who disagree with him and letting everyone have their say. And Ben Shapiro and Vivek Ramaswamy and a couple other speakers were trying to gatekeep and say that no, these people shouldn't be allowed here or allowed to speak. What?
Shouldn't immediately go to motive. By the way, shut up racist is the #1 reason I voted for Donald Trump. And because I'm just sick of it. I mean, first of all, if I was a racist, if I was a bigot, I would just say so. Okay, it's America. You're allowed to be whatever kind of person you want. I'm not. I'm sincerely opposed, have always been, and will.
I hate to cut him off again. No, you're not allowed to say that. I'm sorry. If I or anyone, any normal person would come out and just, admit to being a racist or something like, or even more controversial, if you just came out and said that you were a pedophile or something, your life is over, and no one will interact with you in any meaningful way ever again. Especially if it goes viral, it's just your life is over. So no, I mean, there are always going to be limits to this stuff. Legally, you're allowed to do this or say these things, but there's severe consequences. So no, I don't agree that he would just say he's a racist if he
always be. But the style of debate where you prevent the other side from talking or being heard because you immediately go to motive. Well, I wonder why you're asking that question. I wonder why. Why are you asking that question? I detect in the question a certain evil in your soul. And everyone listening should know that listening to you implicates them, and that they someday may be asked to denounce you, and that friendship is not a reason to defend someone. Love is no defense. I kind of thought we'd reached the end of that. And as far as I'm concerned, we have. And I'm not going to play by those rules. I'm not going to engage in that. If someone doesn't like what I think, fine with me, as long as I get to express it. That's my view.
Okay. So I agree with Ben. Oh, excuse me. I agree with Tucker here. Listen, there's a lot of people I agree with, disagree with, like, dislike, and they're allowed to be there. They're allowed to say what they need to say. And I am to be like Candace Owens completely burned the bridge. Like, I have no interest in whatever she has to say anymore. She just completely went full evil, pure grifter after Charlie's death. It started out fine. She was asking legitimate questions, and now she's basically blaming his wife and all that stuff for his murder without evidence. Like, no evidence. There's zero evidence. It's all, it's like, there's certain people like you it's okay to shun and say like, I want no part of this person. You can't really just say they're not allowed to be in the movement. That's not really how that works, unfortunately. That's just reality. So let's see. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Got myself a pocket Constitution from, I believe I got it from Ellis Island on my New York trip. I also got a copy of the Declaration of Independence, and I got the American flag, a handbook of history and etiquette. So these are really, really handy, neat things to have. I've always wanted a pocket Constitution, and I'm so glad I have one now. Keep it handy when I need it. There's just so much going on. There's just so much. I wish that things would be more calm. You know, we'd have this more utopian society where, you know, that we could literally just talk about celebrity gossip or something because it, you know, nothing else is happening. You know, we have world peace and people aren't killing each other in the streets. You know, political factions aren't trying to take over and kill us all, and all, you know, crazy stuff like that. Unfortunately, the reality is we're living in a very dangerous time. We're in a time of political assassinations and violence, and we need to be reasonable and rational and discuss these things like adults. Let's be adults about this stuff. Okay. Let's see. What else? Is there anything else I wanted to talk about? I think we're pretty much discussed what I want to discuss. Does anyone have any further comments, questions, anything? Anything else you want to bring up? There's another part of completely unrelated to this topic, but reading my Twitter replies. There's a debate about how military service members are basically defrauding the American taxpayer by basically all of them are getting disability after they retire. And it's incredibly frustrating because it's like you're not going to win this issue. You're going to lose. And, you know, I'm the type where I get myself in trouble and I, you know, have no problem losing, you know, viewers and followers. But most people are not going to touch that issue with a 10-foot pole. Okay. Again, this is completely unrelated to the topic, but we do have this problem. You know, I'm from Virginia Beach in Norfolk, Virginia, and huge military, you know, center. It's like 40% of the area is current or former military service members, and then, you know, obviously you have the families there. So you're looking at like everyone knows everybody that you know, everyone knows somebody in the military, and you know, most of your friends are you know, military brats or whatever. So everybody, pretty much everyone I know that served in the military, it was on some kind of disability from the military. And it's incredibly frustrating because you work with these people, they're your friends or whatever, and you know what they did in the military. You know, if you were a combat vet, like actual combat vet, you know, you went into battle and you killed people, you got shot at, you got, you know, RPGs lobbed at you, you got blown up, you know, IEDs in the roads and all that stuff. man, I'm not gonna debate. I'm not gonna question. You get to get, the full disability as far as I'm concerned. You earned it. I have no problem with that. What we do have a problem with is not everyone's a combat vet. And I would argue most military service members are not. You're probably looking at like maybe 20%, and then like the other 80%. I am very probably wrong on this, so please correct me if I am. This is just my estimate. Maybe about 80% are in a support role, some kind of administrative. You're doing logistics, you're doing administrative, whatever. You didn't see combat. So please explain to me why somebody who is working in an office, a paper pusher, is getting 100% disability for back pain. And you're getting something like $50,000, $60,000 a year in disability from military retirement when you just sat at a desk all the time. I kind of have a problem with like a logistics person. Like, let's just say you worked in a military warehouse and, you were moving crates of supplies and stuff around. Maybe you did do some heavy lifting and some strain. It's like, okay, I could kind of see how you could get some kind of disability. But we're talking like, generally speaking, non-combat roles. Why are you getting disability? Why are you getting military disability? You're just doing a regular job that everyone else gets. Why do you get a special entitlement to more money after you stop working that job? It's weird as fuck. And again, nobody wants to talk about this because it's super controversial and, support your troops and hoorah. Like, it's like, I get it, man. But at a certain point, you have to stop like the fraud and America's broke. We don't have money to just be giving away frivolously. You need to be giving this money and these benefits to people who actually earned it. Okay. So that's just a little side note. I also got this really cool Constitution on some parchment paper that I'm going to frame. I got this from Liberty Island, Statue of Liberty. So I'm going to frame this. It's so fucking cool. It was very affordable too. I think it was like $10. Very cool. I also got some really neat coins and stuff. I spent way too much money on this. But so I guess to wrap up here, kind of a preview of my New York trip. Going to Liberty Isle at Ellis Isle, and looking at some of the history and stuff. It didn't change my views necessarily. It kind of like solidified them. Actually, it was a totally different time when we needed more people. We needed more workers. We needed more. We wanted more, and we were in the height of the Industrial Revolution era, and we needed people to work, and it helped found America. And it pushed us forward. It really did. It helped us. But we're at this point now with technology and you can do so much automation. We have advanced robotics and AI. We're actually in this point now. It's kind of like we don't really have room for more people, dude. Like we're having a problem trying to figure out giving our own kids jobs, which my generation, millennials, had half as many kids as Gen X. We have a problem. All right. So, and importing third worlders, I don't think actually solves anything. It's not really helping the situation. So, yeah. Okay. Anything else? Anything else going on? I think I'm going to wrap it up at about an hour and a half. I said everything I needed to say. I do have some chores to do. I'd like to do some laundry. I still have some laundry for my trip that I'm still working on. It was a lot. I probably need to work on some dishes because my dishwasher is still broke. They still haven't come and fixed it. Oh, dear God. That's a whole nother. I'm going to have to make part 3 on why I'm pissed off at Lowe's. It's so annoying. I don't think I'm ever going to buy from Lowe's ever again. Like they've just completely ruined everything. Okay. All right, folks. Well, I appreciate everyone that stuck around and you know watched the stream. Everyone who commented, please give this a like. Please subscribe if you are new here. And again, I appreciate everyone that tuned in. So thank you so much for watching, if indeed you still are. And I will see you all.
Fall like silver static on a midnight radio wave. City streets are glowing magic. Every window shining brave. Cold air dancing on my heartbeat. Warm lights wrapped around the town. Every step feels cinematic as the scents go rising up and down. And all the colors start to bloom. Candy cane clouds in the gloom. I feel the season breaking through. A glow that pulls me back to you. It's that Christmas feeling, shining like an ocean of stars tonight. Hearts are gently healing under all these neon reds and icy lights. Turn the dial to holiday, let the memories drift and play. It's that Christmas feeling, in an 80s dream where everything's bright. Skates carve echoes on the